Hey everybody, welcome to the NVIDIA Hearthstone Pro-Am Tournament. My name is Dan Cho, also known as Frode, and I'm joined by Marcin Filipovic, also known as Nims from Cloud9. Marcin, how's it going today?
Oh man, it was a great day and a great week as well. We had a lot of Hearthstone tournaments, and today we are going to start something new, something brand new, and something amazing.
That's right. So, for anybody who's wondering what's going on, we have a $25,000 online tournament featuring some of the pros and some of the up and coming players. The reason why it's called the Pro-Am is because we invited 16 players to play in their section of the tournament, and we'll be facing off against 16 amateur players who'll be coming through the weekly cups. That'll be happening every single week and Thursday on this channel. Twitch.tv/NVIDIA. So it's going to be a long process to see who's going to be able to challenge the players. And what happens is they're going to have 16 players from each, right? So we'll have 32 players at the final bracket. And in the end, they're going to be playing for a lot of money, $10,000 to the winner and world championship points. I think this is a pretty cool compromise because a lot of people are talking about seeing more open tournaments nowadays, but they still want to see some of their favorite players. And I think this is an opportunity to have the best of both worlds here.
Oh yeah, certainly. And I think like 15,000 people actually signed up for the open brackets. And it's also important to note that we are having a Swiss. So it's not like you sign up and you play one round and you're out. You can actually play as much as possible as long as you're winning. Like even if you're losing, it's still a Swiss. So you can continue playing, facing all those players. And in the open bracket, still, there's a lot of very good players signing up and trying to get there to the top 32. And we are also getting for the first places, we are getting the World Championship points. Again, a great bonus for the tournament.
Yeah, and the World Championship points, they really do add up. 100 points is worth 2 number one finishes on ladder, or for a season rather. So that's a lot. So, all your months' hard work could be easily doubled up by placing first in the tournament. But there's multiple tournaments throughout the year. IEM Katowice also recently awarded points. And of course, some other tournaments down the road. I mean, Via Game this weekend. Actually, that's where I am. I'm in the Via Game House Cup room right now. Yeah, they're also avoiding world championship points as well. So the tournament season's really starting to pick up. So we're going to see who is going to start getting the early lead for the BlizzCon, the global finals that's happening later this year. They don't want me saying BlizzCon, Nimsh. Blizzard specifically asked me to say not BlizzCon,
Yeah.
just other stuff. Yeah. So
World Championship it is then, but
yeah,
still
at BlizzCon.
at BlizzCon,
That's
possibly, hopefully.
Our
But
first,
still,
our first match of the day will be StrifeCro versus RDU. This one's kind of a classic matchup from last year. You'd see StrifeCro and RDU play in a lot of tournaments, all the top level here. We have Warlock, Mage, and actually we're going to game number one. I didn't get to read off the classes here. So we're going to go straight into the games here. StrifeCro versus RDU. Who do you think comes out here on top? I mean, StrifeCro is the guy that comes in as the favorite, but I feel like RDU has been underestimated recently because of his performances haven't been as hot as it was last summer.
well, I definitely think that RDU is still a very strong player, and he definitely prepared for this match as well. It's even though you're not getting dropped from the top 16 if you top 32 if you lose here, RDU wants to win. StrifeCro is first on the ladder, first in the world right now, and RDU was there for the very long time after winning a series of tournaments. So he wants to climb back. He wants to show his skills. RDU being really a great player when he was playing the previous format. Right now, he has to still prove himself in Conquest, but this might be it. This might be the moment for him to prove himself.
Absolutely. So taking a look at the first matchup here, we have Paladin versus Druid. This is a matchup where the more I watched it from Druid's side, the less I like it, just because I feel like Paladin controls the board so well, and if they are able to ever build up that one really strong board, coming back from it is really difficult unless you have like an early innervate play to really swing it back in your favor, or if Dr. Boom graciously decides to reward you for being so good at Hearthstone and having the boom bots hit those targets for 4 damage each. So I'm really
GG.
feeling like Dr. GG. I'm really feeling like StrifeCro got the first matchup advantage, although still, Druid is still Druid, still can take the wins. Do you have any personal insight into this matchup in recent times at all, Nimsh?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I like playing it from two different perspectives. Being Paladin, depending on what you get, what you draw into, you can be very aggressive and then you make risky plays. You can play Master for Battle early. Well, if you start with Shielded Mini Bot into Aldor, then Master, Defender. If you have all those aggressive cards, you can be really aggressive and try to rush Druid down before he set up any taunts. And we can already see that RDU is playing more of a combo version with Scenarios and Pilot Shredders, not Senjins. and big taunts. So that's one of the ways. But the other way to win this matchup is also just sit back, create those dudes, and respond to whatever Druid is playing, and just have a big equality board sweep, and then win from there.
Yeah, having those specific tech cards, even like Black Knight, might be really useful. And vice versa. Like you said, Cenarius making an appearance into RDU's hand. Cenarius was a card that's always been in and out on Druid. Depends on who you're asking. They sometimes like him, sometimes prefer a slightly more aggressive card. Maybe they put Lotheb in instead. But does RDU have the time? Paladin is taking the tempo advantage, and cards like Sludge Belcher won't help that much, Nimsh, if Black Knight's way on the other end of it.
Yeah, RDU definitely needs something like maybe a Force of Nature to clear. He has a couple of combat cards. He will be able to play the Dimension of Lore to heal a bit. But then StrifeCro gets the equality consecration if he needs to clear at some point. But Black Knight being super powerful versus the Sludge Belcher. This looks really bad for RDU right now.
Yeah, I want to ask the follow-up here, because Black Knight seems to be the obvious play. Maybe he has another play that StrifeCro feels like is a little bit better, but do you trade into this Amani Berserker at all, or do you just ignore it and the fact that you put him at 10 health, you have a reasonably strong board? Which one are you pressing for, the damage, or are you pressing for the board clear as Paladin?
I like clearing the board, I believe, because you have to think about the swipe. If swipe is doing a lot of damage, if you just leave the Amani Berserker, a simple Wrath into it can trade with the Black Knight. So I liked how StrifeCro played. Also, Paladin is not a class that deals a lot of burst damage. StrifeCro does have the True Silver Champion, which is essentially 8 points of damage there, and the Consecration, but there is no reason to be really hasty.
Ooh, well, Ironbeak Owl falling out was probably one of the better results. Still, 2 damage is nothing to scoff at, considering that there's 8 on board. And that he's, StrifeCro is 1 mana off lethal at the moment. If he just had the Consecration and True Silver, he'd be able to end it right now. Instead, it looks like he has to maybe wait a turn, but, dropping Dr. Boom when your opponent might just die from the Boombot's impact still seems to be a pretty good option here. I really like it, and StrifeCro obviously thinks so too. He was the one pushing for Dr. Boom when GVG Madness first came out, right, Nimsh?
Yeah, definitely is. Such a bad position right now. But then Dr. Boom is not that OP. You can deal with him. He has RDU has the Big Game Hunter, so
yeah.
Is it really that OP?
Usually you want to BGH after you deal with the Boombots, but he actually needs the Boombots to go into Big Game Hunter and not into his face. Oh, and that's gonna be game number 1 in the books. Although actually, he had enough mana for True Silver and the Consecration. So he had lethal both ways. And RDU is going to lose a very quick game number 1.
As StrifeCro is going to heal himself to be at 30 points of life. But we are playing a Conquest format, so this Paladin has won a game and is eliminated. StrifeCro won't be able to play the Paladin again, and RDU still has a Druid.
Yeah, so the good thing there is that you make the Boombot seem as if it was lethal, right? It does the 2 damage, so then you don't give him the satisfaction of knowing that you had lethal either way. That's enough to put RDU on tilt.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the mind blow kind of. RDU will think, oh my god, they're lucky. RNG there killed me. But in fact, StrifeCro had all the tools to finish the game. And even without it, still, he had the True Silver. So going with 4 damage next turn and developing some kind of board, equality consecration, StrifeCro had everything to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
But
and
then we...
Go ahead, finish
you said that it's actually a bad matchup for the Druid, so Paladin has an edge. If Paladin draws well, then it's a very good matchup for the Paladin. So RDU, Paladin is kind of like a deck that can win versus most of the decks it faces. So RDU shouldn't be that disappointed about this loss. And right now, there are only 2 decks for StrifeCro, and RDU will be able to pick the Druid again whenever he wants. He doesn't have to stay with the Druid. He can actually change now.
Yeah, I want to actually follow up on that point too. There's you were mentioning the curve of Paladin, but I think StrifeCro also was dropping like the Peacekeeper when there's not a direct target. That's something that people might overlook. They might see like, oh, Paladin just falls into a win. It's favored matchup. But there's small moves like that where StrifeCro is able to benefit off of pressuring with the Defender of Argus afterwards on turn 4. And that result curved pretty nicely. And just continue to pressure. Sure, he drew Black Knight, and that's like the flashy play to say like that was the big moment. But StrifeCro was also like finding ways to be aggressive in the first place. So that way, Black Knight was the finishing blow. So pay attention, play close attention to stuff like that if you're trying to up your Paladin play. Just because it's not very obvious when you first look at it, because just a 3/3 for 3. It's like, well, this is not value at all, my Peacekeeper.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, it's like as I said, there are like 2 types of playing, and you can also you can go either aggro or control. And StrifeCro's build was also supporting the aggro play because of Defender and Black Knight.
All right, real game number
game's
2.
ready.
Yeah, so I believe this is the Mage from StrifeCro. Looking like it might be Mech Mage.
Yeah, it seems like
we could be wrong. I'm not sure. But and of course, RDU is going to go back to Druid, which if StrifeCro is playing, the mirror entity version of the Mech Mage, that's just really hard for Druid to deal with, especially if Mad Science is early on in the hand. And RDU might be getting bullied this game. Depends on how his early start is.
Oh yeah, I certainly agree. This looks really bad for RDU right now. Where, well, the matchup-wise, with the Mad Scientist being in hand, no mirror entity, so the Mad Scientist will be able to grant 1 mirror entity for StrifeCro, then Mech Warper into a Neutron. So it's looking good for StrifeCro, but then RDU has a pretty nice hand as well. With
Innervate. It's a big draw.
Yeah, it is. But then how do you plan your turn? It's really awkward because you kind of want to innervate the Shade of Naxxramas, but then you can't really because you won't have the turn 2. So you can coin Shade on 2, and then...
But then what do you do on 3?
On 3 you can...
Wouldn't you rather innervate Yeti next turn and then Shade on 3, and then... Ooh, now you can coin on the Druid of the Claw on turn 4, so actually it works out okay. Oh, he's going to go for Druid of the Claw first, and then it's slightly stronger than the Yeti.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
And now he will have a pretty nice curve. Free Shade for Yeti, and then Dr. Boom is just sitting there and waiting. Oh, Toshli for StrifeCro.
I've seen Toshli start getting used a lot more. I want to give a shout out to Silent Storm, the guy who won ESL Season 1 of the Legendary Series. He started using a lot of Toshli in his ladder decks, primarily Druid. I'm not sure if there was something specific about the spare parts, but in general, it's a really solid body. The spare parts are really useful, especially in Mech Mage, where you get another opportunity to use it with Antonidas, right? You get another chance for the Finically Cloak Field, which is just the deadly combo of having infinite fireballs for the next turn. So I like Toshli. I know Brian Kibler was experimenting with this type of synergy right when GVG first came out, so it's cool to see it being rotated back in, because I don't think RDU, let alone anyone else, is expecting that right now.
Oh yeah, certainly. Like Toshli is also good on curve because and Mech Mage you don't have that many 6-drops you can play. I was experimenting with Sylvanas before, but as you said, like Toshli works with Antonidas and basically gives you the spare parts, which is great. Right now with Mirror Entity for StrifeCro, RDU might be forced to play that Shade of Naxxramas. If you don't play Shade, what do you do?
If you don't play Shade, you just kill off the Neutron, but that's so passive. And your opponent has because not only are you keeping up the Mech Warper, but you're giving him an opportunity to Frostbolt and drop something for 2 mana, which happens to be this Spider Tank. So it fits perfectly within StrifeCro to build up a strong board and be able to respond to the minion.
That's why Mirror Entity is so powerful versus Druid. It just locks the minion plays. RDU will have to play a minion at some point, and that minion will get copied.
And it gets stronger too, right? I mean, if he the longer he waits to put on a minion on the board, like the more mana he has, but the stronger the minion comes down.
Maybe he was trying to fish for Zombie Chow, and if you draw into Zombie Chow, just give them the Zombie Chow, and then you play Shade of Naxxramas, so you give yourself a small chance to get a good draw there. But Innervate was not a card. He could like play around the Mirror Entity.
Yeah, well, StrifeCro's still got Mech Warper up, so he's got a lot of ways to squeeze in mana and minions here.
It seems like StrifeCro is getting out of cards, but then Mech Mage is a deck that just goes forward. In this scenario also, like there are no taunts. RDU has the heal with Ancient of Lore. He has the swipe to try to contest this board. But then if StrifeCro just plays out his hand, which he certainly can, just to play those mechs, ping face, he can just start attacking face and then hope for a fireball.
Well, do you attack with a Shade here? I mean, you have a Noyotron to hide behind, and of course, there's also high priority targets too, like Mech Warper. It makes things a little bit cheaper. I guess with such a small hand, Mech Warper is becoming less impactful because he's only going to be playing 1 or 2 cards anyways, unless he's drawing. So maybe Shade does become one of the highest priority targets. Either way, I still think
attack with Shade.
Okay. Yeah.
I think you can still attack with Shade because if Swipe is getting used, then Swipe is probably getting used on Spider Tank. Like if you swipe Shade, StrifeCro will be happy about it. And then RDU, like from StrifeCro's position, RDU only has 5 mana, so it's not like he's going to swipe and Wrath.
Right. All right, Dr. Boom comes down the board. It needs to do some big things to climb RDU back into this game here, and it definitely can, but oh, wow, an interesting choice has now fallen into the hands of StrifeCro. He's got the Goblin Blast Mage, which does the AoE, or the Arcane Missiles type thing, and we have Toshly, who's ready to deliver the business, but it's just a 5/7, so it gets preyed on pretty easily if things go wrongly for the Boom bots and destroys the board and gets contested by Dr. Boom pretty easily.
For StrifeCro right now, he has to think if there is any way that he's going to die next turn. Because he might put him, like if he plays Toshly, he is building up the board. He can go for face with almost everything. Maybe kill the Shade with the Mech Warper. But then he has to like think, all right, one Savage Roar, that's not enough.
2 Savage Roars, does that kill me?
Yeah, like
it is a lot of damage. It's a good point, there. It's like, people don't really consider like dying at 6 mana to Druid when you're at full health, but that is still a lot of damage. No Chugger freezing the face is pretty clutch against that as well.
I also really liked how RDU played Dr. Boom instead of trying to heal himself or trying to play Swipe. So he decided to go for Boom to be able to recover and get the board back, and took a risk that there is no Fireball in StrifeCro's hand.
Wow, I think that Boombot was pretty much as bad as it gets. It didn't kill off a weak minion. It didn't line it up easily for Swipe. I mean, he can use this Wrath to help stabilize the board a little bit, but RDU's in big trouble if this Boombot doesn't kill something. All right, it does. So there's hope because he has heal from this point on. But, of course, RDU's on a draw to lose if his opponent just gets Fireball right here.
Wow, this game is actually pretty close. If StrifeCro doesn't draw anything good, then RDU might actually come back. Oh, there's a freeze spur part. That's really important.
Hello.
RDU picks up a BGH and he can't really play it. StrifeCro still needs the Fireball. He picks up Azure Drake, which is a great draw. He will be able to draw a card from that.
Sorry about that, Nimsh. Too Good was trolling me. All right.
Give my regards to Too Good.
I absolutely will not, but I'll let him know later. So we come in with Tinkertown Technician. Another spare part can come to hand. That coolant, like you said, was going to be really important. Starting to get tricky.
Yeah, but
now.
it's also awkward with regards to mana, because if you want to freeze something this turn...
Right, you can't develop anything either.
I think what StrifeCro has to do is just freeze Dr. Boom. Or maybe even freeze the 5/5. Freeze the 5/5 and just go 6 for face. Because then if he top decks the Fireball, he still has lethal with the Shapeshift. And it's safe to assume that there is no second Ancient of Lore.
Mm-hmm. Why would you freeze the Ancient of Lore over Dr. Boom?
Because Dr. Boom is trading with your minions, and with Ancient of Lore can kill the 4/4. It's just like initial thought.
Sure. I mean, I guess this is middle of the road play as well. I like it. Still opens up the flexibility, like you said, for Fireball to finish. Although the second Ancient of Lore heal also will be pretty important. Man, Toshly doing a lot of work. Getting that coolant, sneaking in 5 more damage.
Yeah, that's actually a lot.
To win. It's his own Dr. Boom. Okay.
Oh, wow. But there is a BGH. But then the Boom bots, and also RDU won't have any more heals. Like, he used both Ancients of Lore. There are no more heals in the Druid deck.
Yeah, as far as we know. I mean, there's also pseudo heal with the Sludge Belcher. I guess you can count that kind of like heal. Oh man, he's got a time rewinder. Can he use that to his benefit here? I
Not
guess he
really.
wants. Mm,
Not
yeah.
really. StrifeCro needs to push with damage, and RDU will probably love to get scenarios now. Astral
Well,
Drake is
actually,
not
it's
bad.
not too bad. Yeah. Did he use a second Wrath? Because what if he had two Wraths? No, okay. He picks up Sludge Belcher. That's also pretty useful as well.
And his swipe as well.
Spell
So
power swipe.
interesting how he goes for a 4/4 instead of a 3/4. So he's not minding the Blast Mage or any mech effects. He's like favoring the one more damage there.
Right. It makes sense because if the opponent has Fireball
Then he's
or
dead.
Frostbolt, right? It's just he wants to minimize as much damage as possible and armor up. Every single point of damage does matter.
Yeah, by this
Okay.
point, StrifeCro should definitely feel good. Even if he plays Dr. Boom and Dr. Boom is sniped by BGH, the Boom bots are still going to do a lot of damage there.
Yeah.
If
Yeah, I
StrifeCro,
guess
I
it's,
think StrifeCro can actually play almost everything. Just Boom, McWarper, and Taunt one of the bots, and then attack for free to face.
What to do? What to do?
Why would you taunt the Boombot? I guess
You
so
don't
then you
want
force his
Azure
face
Jake
to
to
hit
attack.
it to it. Yeah.
You
I
don't want
guess
Azure Jake to attack into 3/4.
Well, maybe you can taunt Mech Warper then. If you're gonna play Mech Warper, that is.
Yeah.
If you're just gonna ping then. Maybe you can take the same approach as you did last turn, where you ping the Drake ahead of time, and then play Doctor Boom. So then you can push for face, and if Drake wants to trade, it has to pick into a trade down.
That makes sense as well. He's probably going
Okay.
to yeah. Well,
Nah,
honestly,
not taunting
he does-
anything.
Yeah, he doesn't really have to. do
It's
it.
like it's another thing that you can put on Antonitis, I suppose, if you picked it up for the finisher.
Oh yeah, that's actually true because you don't want to use time rewinder on
Rewind
Antonitis.
Antonitis.
I did that before in a very dire situations.
Desperate times, man. All right. Man, these boombots are so intimidating.
Yeah, they can actually finish the game if they hit face.
Wow.
I mean, like
Hits
if
face for reasonable damage.
the StrifeCro gets a fireball and Boombot hits face for like what 3?
Should you not even bother triggering it because you're doing 1 damage to yourself already. So if the boombot hits you, it's another way that you can increase the chances that fireball can likely finish the game.
I think it's fine if you attack face. You just want to protect yourself. All right, for StrifeCro then he gets not very impressive Gnome.
No, one of the worst draws in his deck at the moment. What do you even
At least
do?
he's going to get a spare part. I think you just ping the 4/1.
Ping the 4/1, boombot.
Oh, that's actually cool. Use the spare part.
Oh yeah, wow.
And he gets
Very
3 damage
cute.
to face. RDU is just dying there. He's like, oh my god, he is a fireball and he hit. What am I going to do now?
Yeah. He's just crossing his fingers, hoping that fireball is on the other side.
Oh,
2
that was
damage
a
in the
very important
face.
hit.
Yeah, it's reasonable. So now it's like at this point, armoring up with the druid and conserving his life doesn't really matter anymore, unless he wants to play outside of Frostbolt range. And now it's just left for his hero power. If he pings the Sludge Belcher, then it becomes within range that anything it trades into, he can pick it off next turn as well. So it seems to be the best course of action.
Yeah.
And yeah, StrifeCro is going for
Also, as you mentioned, you can think about pinging face to just put your opponent into Frostbolt range. And that will actually maybe work if there's scenarios.
That was a really clutch draw here from RDU.
Oh, yeah. That's a
Getting
big
more
draw.
taunts is so big here, just because, again, it might be quantity of taunts as opposed to quality, plus more bodies on the board for Savage Roar.
Yeah, and he also has a swipe, so that's getting really dangerous for StrifeCro. He needs that fireball right now. Is fireball the only out? That's the question.
Yeah, Frostbolt's not going to do it. This time rewinder is pretty useless, man. It doesn't really seem like it's going to do much. RDU chooses to trade just to be extra safe because maybe he has killing damage anyways.
Oh my god. Blast Mage is also an out if he gets
Blast
4 hits
Mage.
to the face.
Yeah, and he has 2 chances to try, I suppose. Plus, it's a lot of spray. Oh my gosh. Are we Call of Duty? Are we MOG? Oh my god, Nimsh. He hit 2
Wow,
to the face.
wait.
What?
What just happened? He actually hit face twice. You can't believe this.
Oh man, RDU is so nervous because now. Oh my god. If StrifeCro ends a game like this, I already foresee the salt in the Reddit comments on front page.
Wow, he's
Oh boy, here we
going
go.
for it.
Oh, RDU sees the Tyro Winder.
Oh my god, he's
one
going
hell of
for
a
it.
way to end the game.
Can he win this?
No, okay, but he did take out a body, 2 bodies rather. So Savage Roar is not going to end it alone. Wait, it's another Tyro Winder. Does he want to pull that Goblin Blast Mage back?
You actually might. I think
Dude.
that's a valid play. If you get a mech, you still have a chance to finish the game.
Yeah, and even if you get Antonitis, it'd be really slow, right? You'd be pulling Antonitis back in, and your opponent already gets a lot of freeloaded damage in because Cineris is on board.
Whoa, this was actually crazy. StrifeCro was 1 damage of lethal, 1 more damage to face. He would finish the Fire Blast, but still.
Oh, come on. There was 5 targets on board, Nimsh. The fact that he even hit twice is insane.
I think this is lethal, by the way.
Oh, is it? It's 5,
8 plus
10.
12.
Oh, the swipe. That's right. He's exact lethal.
Wow, what a game. That was
Man.
actually crazy.
Pretty insane back and forth. Almost an opportunity for RDU to lose that game despite stabilizing at a pretty critical health level. So we're going to tie it up here and go into game number 3. Really fun stuff so far, Niv. I like it.
Oh yeah, just Hearthstone after GVG is so much fun. It's amazing, and also like when you see those top players facing each other in those tough spots, you know, just not every player will actually get the Blast Mage back, and also RDU just deciding to play that Dr. Boom early and to try to stabilize versus Mech Mage. You know, it's like really making those important decisions, like killing the 4/4, not the 3/4, and just barely hanging there at 2 points of health, and in the end just setting up the kill. So yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah, an important win for RDU to get out too, because if you go down 0-2 in Conquest, it's very, very hard. It's very hard to continue to try and like win with everything against one deck, and they just have a lot of chances out. Although Conquest is a matchup is a format where if you can target one matchup specifically, like against Hunter or against Mech Mage, for example, then maybe you have an opportunity to 3-0 reverse sweep.
It was a very important win because Mech Mage has a very good matchup versus Druid, as we mentioned, and especially if you run Mirror Entity, and RDU was able to somehow overcome it, and now his Druid is locked. So for StrifeCro there are 2 decks, and for RDU 2 decks. So StrifeCro still has Rogue and Mage.
I believe you're correct, although I had to go and verify that. In the meantime, guys, that we do realize some people are also piling into the stream just because it just started off. So welcome to everybody that's just tuning in. We have the NVIDIA Hearthstone Pro-Am Tournament. This is the first day of the broadcast. It's going to be a weekly online event where we have $25,000 on the line. And it's not just the pros that you see or the well-known players. Some people still have a hard time saying, like, this player is pro versus not. We have 16 players that we invited. They're going to be competing against 16 amateur players that will be coming up through the weekly event. If you want to find out more information, you can go to esports.geforce.com and click on the event. So basically, there's 8 weeks of open group play, and there's going to be 1 match per week with a Swiss style. And this is a lot of what people have been asking for in the community. So I think if you're a player that's in here, and it's pretty high likelihood, because how many people did we get signed up, Nimsh? 15,000 or something?
15,000 people from all regions across the world. So a lot of players signed up. And also I want to mention, like as Fred said, weekly, we'll be live every Thursday at 11 a.m. EST or 4 p.m. CET.
Yep, that's right. And so they're doing Swiss across 3 regions for 8 weeks. And the top 16 open bracket players, or the amateur division, will play against the 16 pros that you're seeing this week, which include StrifeCro, RDU, And of course, we have other players: Reynad, 6-0, Tides of Time, Firebat, Kalento, and all your favorite guys. Here we go. Game number 3 is starting underway, and we already see what type of Warlock deck is StrifeCro running. He has Void Callers, so it is leaning over towards that Demon handlock that we've seen him climb the rank number 1, even as recent as a couple days ago. Meanwhile, in RDU land, he's going with Hunter, and that Worgen Infiltrator draw is pretty much exactly what he wanted, something to do on turn 1. But he is playing Snake Trap. He's not playing just Explosive Trap, so there's already kind of a mix-up that we're not normally used to seeing.
Oh yeah, it's a very interesting build. Like the first hand he mulliganed away seemed like a standard Face Hunter with Explosive Trap and Hunter Creeper, which is interesting also that he mulliganed Hunter Creeper versus Warlock. But then this hand shows that he brought some new cards to the fold, and it's already starting to look interesting with that Snake Trap and Infiltrator. RDU, you know, is like one of those players that brings his own brews, his own decks. He is not afraid to experiment. And right now with his new team, he also has a lot of great players on the team, a lot of great deck builders. So definitely a player who's not afraid to play new stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep, attacking the face seems just about right in almost every scenario against a deck like this. Getting that Zombie Chow, though, is so big for this very reason. Whoa, he holds on to it. All right, Nips, you're the aggro specialist. What do you think about that play? I wasn't really anticipating that.
So I like it because... well, all right. So it's not that I really like it, but it's an interesting approach where you can save the...
Well, you just said two different things, man. You gotta
yeah, I know. I was just setting up the stuff, like, you know, just processing the attack into Zombie Chow. Okay. He had a lot of different ways here. Like he could trade with the Zombie Chow and use the Worgen. He could attack into the Zombie Chow. Here he is taking a risk that there is no Farseer, and he is playing versus Handlock. So it's not essential that there is a Farseer. Farseer is not a card that you always mulligan into. So taking the risk, he is keeping his minion alive. And this Worgen Infiltrator will deal, if not answered, will deal more damage over time than just having this weapon. And also RDU is fine with taking damage here because Handlock is not that aggressive. It's mostly reactive. Maybe also he's thinking that there is no possible Moral Coil for StrifeCro because right now with more demons, Moral Coil is getting cut a bit.
Yeah, well, StrifeCro does point out this Farseer and heal the Zombie Chow back up to the 3 health. And it's not because you want to do pressure with the Zombie Chow, but because StrifeCro interpreted that his opponent might have a weak follow-up to not deal with 3 health minions outside of this Worgen Infiltrator. So I like the analysis of that. And as a result, it just so happens to be true. StrifeCro or RDU doesn't have anything normal to do on turn 3, so he has to resort to playing the Abusive Sergeant and Snake Trap combination and trying to bait his opponent into perhaps faulty trades as a result because he's anticipating Explosive Trap instead.
Yeah, this looks really weird for RDU, especially because StrifeCro has the Molten Giant in hand. So RDU's choice will be only to try to expand his board and deal as much damage as possible and hope that there are no Molten Giants and no heal bots. But then StrifeCro does have those minions on board, so he can trade into whatever is being played. It seems like an obvious Snake Trap, is it? Would you expect a Snake Trap here?
Seems like an obvious Snake Trap. I mean... Actually, to be fair, it's a good point. If this was a really bad Explosive Trap, wouldn't you just Hero Power instead so you can set up a better Explosive Trap later on? It's a really good point, Nimsh. Maybe StrifeCro should be able to read into it. Of course, it's hard to say because Snake Trap is one of those off chance things. It's not completely uncommon. Sometimes you do see it, but it's very rare. And in this scenario, it's caught StrifeCro off guard because he doesn't have an easy way to deal with it, at least from the cards that we saw. You know, we originally had StrifeCro's POV, but we took it down. But we do know that he runs cards like Hellfire and AoE in his deck. So how does he respond to all these 1/1s that are flooding the board now?
Did he mulligan away the Hellfire? By the way, we're going to fix StrifeCro's hand in a moment, guys.
Yep.
Well, he definitely has Hellfire still in the deck. Just getting a... Well, Shadow Flame won't do much because his board will be cleared and this Farseer is going to die to the snakes. But maybe if he can set up something like Ancient Watcher, no. A 2-3 should be fine. It does contest the board. Juggler comes a bit too late.
Yeah, the juggler would have been really sick with the snake trap. Although he still has Unleash the Hounds, so there is that form of AoE. Set up Glaive Zuka number 2 and Hero Power. And just start doing some pretty good damage. Force your opponent to have some ability to deal with all your the smaller minions.
Yes, another question is, can StrifeCro deal with those snakes? And he can actually just play Twilight Drake. Yeah.
Yes. Twilight Drake 4 or 5, the best stats. Void Caller doesn't actually have anything to pull out yet, so that card is essentially just a weaker spider tank, I suppose, or a slower spider tank. And then, of course, he does have the Antique Healbot, which is super, super clutch. Not as clutch as drawing Iron Beak Owl, though.
Yeah, Iron Beak was really important. He will be able to deal with the Twilight Drake. But on the other hand, he used the Iron Beak, so when the Molten Giant comes down. But then again, there is no Taunt Giver because StrifeCro had to use the Sunfury Protector to be able to contest the board early.
Right.
Interesting. He can still play the Void Caller, though. It's always a body. Even though there's no demon, RDU won't know that there's the demon, and RDU might have to decide to go for face there.
Right. It's better body than the Antique Healbot. Not to mention that it's better for the tempo swing, and you have the Molten Giant come down plus the Healbot to heal you back up.
Yeah, this board is getting more and more complicated here.
Yeah.
Because of the Molten Giant and the Healbot.
The Molten Giant Healbot is pretty solid turn, unless StrifeCro picks up something else here. Dread Inferno.
Wow, that's actually pretty huge because the Inferno is going to get played. That was a big draw.
Right, so it pulls it out for the 6/6, and now he can pull out. I'm trying to calculate how many stats come out on the board. I think it's like 17, so 34 worth of stats.
Wow, that's such a powerful turn.
And
so
you
how
heal
much
up
damage
for 8
can RDU
life.
heal?
So you can do 5, 8, 10 damage right now, and you can drop the Leper Gnome.
I think you have to go for this. Like, you basically go all in and hope there's nothing to kill you next turn. And it might actually work. Like, StrifeCro doesn't have a clear. So for now, he is not able to deal with this board. He doesn't have a Taunt Giver, and he doesn't have Lethal as well.
Right. Yeah, there's no easy way for Lethal. Void Caller isn't it either for StrifeCro.
He has to tap. And then it's still tough because even if he gets a Shadow Flame, there is a Leper Gnome and the Steady Shot.
Right. Even if you get Shadow Flame, there's also the secret waiting on the other end, which might be Explosive Trap, so it denies you from being able to attack and set up a 2-turn lethal.
Wow, are you putting StrifeCro on the spot?
Unless he plays like second Healbot, right?
Yeah, the second Healbot might work.
But I don't think he even has it, because it's not common to see the second Healbot anymore.
It might still be not enough, because he'll have 11 only.
Second Molten Giant, wow.
That's not it. Then RDU is going to take game number 3. And if at any time you guys are wondering about the score, we have those small circles behind the players' names.
That's right.
Below the players' name.
It's kind of like those cards that you get at coffee shops. They just keep stamping enough, and you get a free win to the next round, I guess.
Yeah, and whoever gets free wins gets a free coffee.
Or $10,000, rather, not 25,000. These guys are playing for a lot of money, guys, and World Championship points, 100 to the winner. But of course, it's not just about these players as well. I'm just keep reminding people because we have more people coming into the stream as we are hitting our first hour here on broadcast. We have 16 players that are pros. We have 16 players who are also coming through the amateur division. They're just going to be playing Swiss through 8 weeks, and we'll be seeing what happens. Basically in end of May or June, right? That's what we're aiming for right now. This is a 2 to 3 month tournament. That's kind of how 8 weeks works. And then
with the pros, I just want to mention that we will have those 16 pros playing against each other, and everybody will play against everybody. So if you are rooting for a specific particular matchup, it will happen at some point because all those 16 pros will play against each other, and then they're getting points based on the wins, and they will be seeded into top 32 based on the points they get. And then for the other part of the top 32, we'll have those 16 amateur players that come from the amateur part of the tournament, and they will be seeded versus those pros in our top 32.
That's right. We have guys like Trump and, Faramir, Hyped, Forsen, and Amon.
Gara.
So, yeah. So go ahead and spam all your Forsen W's or Trump W's, whatever you guys want to do in chat when the time comes. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. In the meantime, StrifeCro is looking to fall down in his first series. If RDU can close it out here in game number 4, and it looks like we have a good old rogue matchup against the Warlock. This is something that RDU loves because he's known to be a rogue player. Even dating back to his Bucharest days, he was playing tempo rogue against the mid-range hunter, which was an interesting tech choice at the time.
Yeah, RDU is definitely known as a rogue player as well. He played a lot of rogue. He innovated. He brought Perdition's Blade at some point to the rogue deck. But on the other hand, this is not a great matchup to play. It's a very difficult and very delicate one for the rogue.
Mm-hmm. Now you have to just be careful with how much damage you do, and the burst is still very relevant. The Blade Flurry can be awesome to sweep the board, but what you used to be able to do, I mean, just think about how Miracle matched up against a deck like this, right? If they put out big threats, how do you deal with a 6/6 easily? You have to have, the backstab Eviscerate, and if you don't, you're just taking a lot of damage.
Basically, what you have to do as a rogue is be able to deal with the big minions, like be able to deal with the Twilight Drake on 4 or Giant on 4, and then a follow-up Giant or just Twilight Drake. And after you do that, you still have to have enough cards to be able to draw into that big flurry and to buff it with Deadly Poison and win with 1 speed. But RDU is having so much damage here, so he might actually decide also to go for face and risk it.
Yeah, he's got 8 from the Eviscerate, another 2 from the SI7, or 3 rather, from the SI7 agent if it can hit the face. So it's starting to pair up. As long as he gets another way to make Blade Flurry really strong, his opponent doesn't really have many taunts, he can do this.
Yeah, but there's a heal bot for StrifeCro, and there's also Mulganis. So if he is able to stabilize with Mulganis on board, then RDU won't be able to finish him with Eviscerates.
Yeah, gosh, it's so annoying because Blade Flurry doesn't even hit anything when you kill Mal'Ganis. Say you have a 7 damage Blade Flurry, it just kills off Mal'Ganis and doesn't do damage to the opponent's face as well. So there's just, it's very annoying to deal with this deck in general. You're absolutely right. There is no Void Caller though, so it would have to come out on turn 9 or somehow gain a little bit extra mana. But I think RDU still has an opportunity here as long as he can pick up some good damage, and if he doesn't, he still has Sprint.
Yeah, right now it's all about stabilizing the board. So StrifeCro is thinking about Lothab because Lothab is going to block some spells on next turn.
Yep.
And then also it's a 5/5 body that will be able to trade with whatever is left on board. He's probably going to kill the 3/3 just to save the Twilight Drake from a simple weapon attack, just hoping that there is nothing for RDU enter 5. But RDU picks up the Azure Drake. He also had that Sludge Belcher. I think Azure Drake might be better here because Sludge Belcher is not really trading well with the 5/5 Lothab.
It weakens the board so that it's like a 5/3 and a 4/1. Yeah, I'm not really liking it as much. It makes it that Blade Flurry can be a little bit stronger, but still, I think the Drake picks up more options.
Yeah, with Drake, basically, you still will be able to kill the Lothab with a weapon attack, or maybe Blade Flurry at some point. Mm-hmm. So we can see that RDU is kind of running out of steam. His damage being dealt stopped right now. He has a full hand still, but that's a lot of burst.
He's got Sprint though, so just
yeah, he has the Sprint.
The trick will be
separation.
Yeah, the trick will definitely be how he manages to play his cards effectively. If his opponent is just playing big threat after big threat, he has to deal with Sylvanas. Yeah, so backstab, eviscerate, and SI7. But it's it's just treating symptoms of the overall problem, though, right? you're just spending a lot of your removal and your premium cards to try and burst your opponent out of the game. And all you're doing is like fighting for board control when this deck is pretty good at fighting for it back easily.
Yeah, exactly. But on the other hand, it is something that you're still happy about because it's turn 7 and you were able to not die. There are no giants you're facing. So right now, if there is nothing really threatening, you can sprint and try to fill your hand and then start having quality plays after that.
Well, the thing is, you're not really fearing mountain giants anymore, though. Like StrifeCro was experimenting taking it out, and I really like that. Just the idea that you're not really bound by these cards that sometimes in aggro matchups they're absolutely dead. Instead, you have these mid-range minions like Dread Infernals, like Void Caller, which can pull out a really good minion.
Yeah, like Morganis, Jiraxus, or a 6/6.
Yeah, Jiraxus would be pretty reasonable.
Everybody's playing BGH, so if you cut Mountain Giants, you basically put yourself in a better situation there.
Right. I mean, that's where Dread Inferno hits like the sweet spot, right? It's a little bit more consistent than Doomguard, because sometimes Doomguard, if you pull it out, great. The 5/7 charge is amazing for trades, especially considering how many minions have 5 health now. Ancient of Lore, Shield Maiden, Sludge Belchers. But the Dread Infernal, it's 6/6 is a really reasonable body. The playing it as a battle cry sometimes from the hand is also good too. So I'm really digging the Dread Infernal. I thought it was a really smart tech from StrifeCro, and Kalento definitely agreed too, because last weekend he won the Europe versus China for Cloud9. There you go, Nibs. While borrowing StrifeCro and other Cloud9 teammates' deck. So there you go.
Yeah, there's a lot of Cloud9 players in those tournaments.
They're a pretty good team, man. Just throwing it out there.
Thank you. All right, so StrifeCro is able to cycle those Mortal Coils, which are normally not that useful, but he was able to get them out and increase the quality of his hand. Just develop also a good board.
Gotta sprint.
There is a preparation, a Deadly Poison, double Deadly Poison, and Tink. Oh my god, that would be a big flurry there if he decides to use it.
I mean, it absolutely will be.
Well, right now he can actually use the weapon attack because he knows that if he wants a big flurry, he still has that Deadly Poison and Oil. So it's not like you really have to have a super big weapon. You just need a certain amount of attack.
Your opponent also used Lotheb, so you don't have to worry about that in terms of the timing of it.
Yeah.
There still is the Mal'Ganis, though, which negates the Blade Flurry. And, I mean, of course, if you're StrifeCro, you're worried about Sap. That's the big problem with it. Sap is an easy way to deal with those Void Caller tempo plays.
Well, RDU is yet to see the Sap. So being StrifeCro here, do you play Mal'Ganis, like yellow it? Or do you Sludge Belcher, then you have 4 mana, not really doing anything else?
Yeah, he just sprinted, so the likelihood that he has a Blade Flurry is pretty high, especially since 2 are ran in the deck. I don't know. I'd feel a little bit insecure, so I'd probably drop one of the ways to be defensive, whether it's Sludge Belcher or, basically it's like Sludge Belcher and something else. Although dropping Mal'Ganis still wouldn't feel too bad too. If he had Sap, how much damage could he do with one Blade Charge, right? Because he doesn't have
Mal'Ganis. Yeah, exactly. So like the problem with Mal'Ganis is that if there's a Sap, you're basically kind of losing a turn, but then you are able to buff the Void Caller and deal more damage.
Well, he doesn't even take the damage. He just tries to keep and preserve the taunt, which is pretty clever, assuming your opponent doesn't have Fan of Knives to just push through. And there is no Sap, so that's problematic.
Yeah, that's really awkward for RDU right now.
One thing I do like about playing Mal'Ganis too is that, it really makes sure that you can try and leverage as much damage as possible while being able to keep your health preserving intact. So say he needs to tap this turn, or say Dread Inferno does too much damage by just doing 1 damage AoE. In this scenario, the Boom Bots, if it hits the face, he's safe, right? Say he plays Dread Inferno, for example. I'm not sure that's what it's going to do, but say he does it, and then it just hits twice to the face. No damage whatsoever.
What do you think about... Yeah, I like Dread Infernal to kill the bombs, but I'm thinking, can you use like a smart Shadow Flame? So let's say You attack
Uh,
the 7/7 with the 5/5. You get a demon for free.
you might even get Void Caller. You can Shadow Flame Void Caller.
You can maybe play Void Caller first, then attack
Oh,
Doom,
yeah. And then
and then
Shadow
you get
Flame.
Infernal.
You can Shadow Flame the Zombie Chow. You don't have to Shadow Flame your Void Caller.
True. Yeah, that's even better.
And then you can play Sludge Belcher behind it, so that way it can be defensive.
Oh, I love it. Zombie Chow, Shadow Flame, and Belcher.
Okay. Okay. So he Shadow Flames his Void Caller so he can put out another bigger minion. Yeah, this is so that he has potential lethal next turn. Right? Because if Jiraxis came out or if the Dread Inferno came out, he'd still be threatening lethal, right?
Yeah. Also, exactly. That's why you don't want to play Zombie Chow.
And you don't want to heal him for 5 instead. Makes sense.
Also, it's not that you have a lot of cards in your hand that are going to push with damage. So you want to you want to finish this game as fast as possible.
Okay,
There is a sap though.
1. Yikes.
RDU still has preparation. He doesn't have any minions though. So how much damage can he deal with prep? That's 3, 5, 6.
Yeah, this deck, like you said, struggles so much based off these big threats that keep popping down. And of course, this is assuming that he's not just dead next turn. He has to Blade Flurry here, but he's giving up all of his burst. Every single drop.
Well, he still has a Viscerate.
Yeah, I guess. So not every drop. The StrifeCro pretty much sucked RDU dry in terms of his damage.
Oh, he gets a Hellfire. That's an interesting card here. He will be able to deal with the 6/3 easily.
Yeah. Hellfire and then play... I mean, does he want to... Yeah, does he want to start tapping so that way his post-Jiraxis hand is good? I guess he's okay just playing Healbot and then Jiraxis next turn.
I think there is some merit in developing the body on board. So if you Hellfire now, both players drop to 13, and then you play Healbot, so you're like 21, and you're like fine, and then you have a free on board. So you know that Rogue doesn't have any taunts. So you will be able to play Jiraxis next turn and attack for 6 to get them to 7. And if you're not dead, if they won't be able to deal 15 points of damage in one turn from essentially 4 cards because they top deck 1.
True.
You've seen a lot of bursts already. From next turn, you just start doing you either win or you just get the Infernals and taunt them up.
What's scary is that you still only seen half, right? He still could get sprint number 2 into second oil and second Blade Flurry. All right, he takes the opportunity right now to play Jiraxis instead. And it's because he doesn't really respect the amount of bursts his opponent can do.
It's because he saw, there's
sprint.
Second sprint. It's a big drop for RDU.
But, I mean, does he have enough time? I mean, he's thinking about dropping Loatheb instead.
It's still going to be a very useful card. And RDU has the pressure here. And because he has a 5/5 on board right now, the sprint into... Use double Deadly Poison already. But
Yeah,
if
he only has one oil left. But even if he picks up oil, he needs prep with it.
RDU is getting all in. But there is that heal bot.
Double Hellfire.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is definitely really interesting, but I think he's going to set up like the biggest wall possible.
Oh yeah, obviously, and also keep the Zombie Chow protected so that RDU is not able to kill the Zombie Chow to heal himself.
He's got 9 damage next turn with weapon plus 2 Hellfires. So, by all means, unless his opponent can Blade Flurry this one away or stall long enough, this is over. But, I mean, the sprint can pick up some miracles here.
He needs to sprint. If he doesn't sprint, he'll have to sap the 6/6 and then kill the 3/3, and then he's dead.
Right.
Or is he? Because Hellfire will actually kill the zombie chow, and then it's going to heal RDU.
Oh, you're right. 2, 4, 7. Oh, you're absolutely right. The heal from the zombie chow. That's really
so
interesting.
awkward.
So he's got... Yeah, and it wouldn't be even a scenario where it ties, right? So, because if you do the game-ending damage else as Hellfire, does it kill him?
I don't think so. That's 7 points of damage. So it's 4, and then he heals. No, I think he has to trade. Like StrifeCro has to trade into his minions.
So you trade, and then you just play. You just play the minions, right? You don't actually have to Hellfire the second time. So you don't want to lower your health anymore. Man, that is really awkward.
You can
It's not an
Hellfire
8
once.
health, though. 8 is still relatively safe, unless, Nimsh, unless specifically RDU sprints into a prep, Blade Flurry, and Oil. That's 8 damage.
That's, yeah.
He needs to, out of 3 out of 4 cards have to be Oil,
That's
prep,
prep.
and Blade Flurry.
That's a sap. Doesn't do anything. And that's a Drake. Wow. That's really bad.
I mean,
like,
it was a
only
very
sap.
specific set of cards, man, but it was possible.
Yeah, I liked it. That was a possibility for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or he could have set up a scenario where Hellfire wouldn't be lethal. Like, say he picked up... Actually, I don't even know. There's no way that he could have set up that Hellfire would have been tie.
Now, the only question is, do you prep a sap, or do you just sap the 6/6?
I would say that the prep is really important for
Oil.
oil. But, I mean,
Yeah,
at this point, what does it even matter, you know?
It matters.
Actually,
if
it might be
Thalnos.
important for the Thalnos. You're right.
Yeah, it's
No,
only
you're-
important for the Thalnos.
Thalnos is...
like-
No, you're right, because you need the extra draw, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, what do you need? Like, do you need an extra draw, or do you need prep for a possible top deck next turn?
No, you need the draw because you need Blade Flurry and you need the oil. I mean, RDU's dead, but this is his thinking where he needs to prep the sap out, I think.
Well, if he saps the 6/6, and gets oil, no, right?
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay, so he keeps the Thalnos instead. And now StrifeCro is 1 damage off here. He needs to figure something out. Oh, he gets a Sun Fury Protector. Oh, that's
Oh
devastating.
man. Yeah, Sunfury Protector is amazing here.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, he needed 2 damage, discounted. But still, the point is Rogue does need it.
RDU is like,
Wait.
oh wow.
He's almost out of cards. Did he play? He's
Flare
only
was the
playing
last-
1.
One oil. I think
did
he was
he-
playing 1 oil only. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
because he I'm not even sure what he caught.
Well, he's playing 1 Shredder. He's playing Shredders and Teachers, right? He's
Yeah,
playing
but
2
you still
Teachers
should have
and he's
enough
playing
space.
Shredder. So he cut one of the oils for one of those 4 drops.
For Edwin, maybe, because Edwin is not a card you usually see in this. Like, if you play double Shredder, double Teacher, like, there's a lot of versions. Like, this is very cool about Oil Rogue, because you just change a couple of cards. Like, you can change 4 cards, and you play it differently. So apparently, RDU is playing 1 Edwin, 1 Piloted Shredder, double Violet Teacher, kind of like and 1 Oil, like a custom version. But yeah, that was a tough matchup to begin with, as stated. It's really tough to win with Oil Rogue versus Handlock. So
Well, now we're going to go to Oil Rogue versus Mech Mage, man. It's going to be the last game. And the winner takes the first match of this entire tournament. And I'm feeling like RDU still has a pretty good foundation here. The Rogue deck has really good sweeps that can handle this Mech Mage aggression, I think.
Yeah, it's a very interesting matchup, and it's fun that it's the deciding one, because whoever you ask, people have different opinions on who has favored in Rogue versus Mech Mage, because Mech Mage can snowball and can just freeze the Rogue, so the Rogue can't use the weapon, and if there is no AOE, then Mech Mage just goes through Rogue. But then a Rogue has the AoEs, and on the other hand, Mech Mage can't really overextend the board, because if there is a big flurry, then Mech Mage is going to lose all the creatures. So I think, like, personally, I would give advantage and I would give an edge to Rogue because of the standard strategies. If they work, then you have an edge versus Mech Mage. But then it's really close to 50-50.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to see what the draws are going to determine it. I wonder how cards like Toshli impact it, just because it's such high health. It's difficult for the Rogue to easily deal with it without a big Blade Flurry, unless they want to spend a couple of cards. Yeah, I mean, we only saw one game from StrifeCro's Mage, which lost to the Hunter deck, right? Or is it the
Druid?
The Druid.
Druid.
It was the Druid deck.
RDU.
That's right. It was the matchup where like, well, you should beat the Druid, but let alone it didn't happen.
All right. So, guys, remember, we are going to be live every Thursday starting 11 a.m. EST or 4 p.m. CET, casted by me and Froden. We'll have a lot of pros. Top 32, 16 players from the pro part, 16 players from the amateur part of the tournament. 15,000 people sign up for this tournament.
We also have other matches coming up, too. We have Gar versus Forsen, and then Hyped versus Trump, as well as one more match of the day. We have 4 today, right, Nimsh?
Yeah, and on Sixto versus Reynald, I think we'll close the day.
Oh, boy. Oh, man. Oh, man. I should definitely make sure I keep Skype open for that, for the team chat.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's kind of like a grudge match.
That's going to be so sick. I should just cast the chat more than I should cast the game.
The game?
The team chat. Because it's always amazing to see what these guys, what Reynad says after a match like that. Oh, man. That's like half the reason I joined Tempo Storm. Here we go. Game 5. Rogue versus Mech Mage. Can RDU stabilize against the aggression? Can StrifeCro get the early tempo through things like Mech Warper? And even Snow Chugger denying Rogue the ability to play cards or use their hero power in succession. Those kinds of things will really heavily influence the early game.
Yeah, cards like, as you said, like the early game is really important, but then also in mid game, cards like Piloted Shredder for Mech Mage is important to have it. And Flurry, again, a most important card for Rogue. StrifeCro has a very good start for the Mech Mage here. Lots of mechs. He will be able to snowball. Can RDU flurry that?
Double Snow Chugger.
I think you actually have to sap the Warper here. That's so weird.
You're in such a big risk. Yo, boy, it's gonna be really painful.
Yeah, well,
just because the two Snow Chuggers.
Exactly. And in RDU's defense, it's not like you normally face double Snow Chugger. Like what you would expect on turn 2 is maybe a Spider Tank that you can still sap. But then right now,
what a shame. What a shame that we couldn't see RDU's reaction to double Snow Chugger.
Yeah, he was probably pretty salty.
Yeah.
RDU
He's going to
is
hold
one
on
of
to this.
What's up?
No, I'm saying he's going to hold on to the weapon charge, but he can't really do anything with it until he picks up Blade Flurry. And you were saying RDU is one of those. And then...
Yeah, I said like RDU is one of those players that's really showing emotions, and he's really fun to watch because instead of having a poker face, he's mostly just angry or happy about the plays or the draws. He's really entertaining to watch.
Yeah, RDU's a really big tryhard. If you need any proof, just read his Twitter about how he handled the IEM Katowice loss. And that's literally how he actually acts in person, too. When he loses a match that's really close or something that he thinks about for a while, the dude just never shuts up about it. But, of course, that's part of his competitive spirit and part of why I really like RDU, because if you always want to talk Hearthstone, RDU is your guy. He's willing to talk about anything and everything when it comes to the game.
He's really passionate. Well, here we can
and he's super competitive.
Yeah. Here we can see StrifeCro not playing around Betrayal.
But he's playing specifically to get the adjacent minions on the Pilot Shredder. So normally, Nimsh, that joke is 10 out of 10, but in this case, it's I got to dock you a couple points on that.
Yeah, if you get like a Flamethrower Totem, it's actually a pretty smart play.
Yeah.
And those are the small things that pro players do.
It's the 1%, right? If it ends up being a difference maker, then you look like a genius. Until then, there's no reason not to. I don't think there's any reason to place a Pilot Shredder on the outside unless you're playing Shaman.
True. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Is there? I don't know. Maybe nothing's coming to mind.
Most of the minions, no, you want to buff minions unless you want to avoid something like buffing
Like
something
Big Game
plus.
Hunter.
Yeah, against Big Game Hunter.
And I guess there is some print scenarios. StrifeCro picks up Mad Scientist. That's pretty useful, especially considering if you pick up Counter Spell and he doesn't, and all he has is like prep or sprint, and he needs both of them. That's pretty convenient. I'm not sure if he's playing Counter Spell though. That's more of like a case by case basis.
Yeah,
He's
it's
getting
not
awfully close to killing his opponent too.
Yeah, right now we are seeing basically what we mentioned before. So the mage was able to snowball into the rogue. A rogue normally doesn't have many taunts. RDU is running the Sludge Belcher, which is also interesting. But then he didn't get the flurry, so he wasn't able to clear.
Yeah.
And
So
now
we know
StrifeCro-
StrifeCro, yeah, he inevitably has the fireball. Can RDU stabilize long enough? I mean, it's 2-3 turns away from happening.
RDU has the Farseer, so that's something. But then he will need a lot of great quality plays to be able to push StrifeCro back and then set up a kill after Antonidas play. And then StrifeCro even has the taunt, so he will be able to, on 8, he will be able to play Antonidas and taunt it up. And one sap is already there, like out of the way. There is a flurry.
Yeah, the flurry hypothetically could clear here. Depends on this Pilot Shredder, but you are giving up. Like the tricky thing is normally if your health was a little bit higher, like in the mid-teens, you could heal the Sludge Belcher, pick up a pretty good trade, and then force your opponent to an awkward spot. But now instead he has to do something else.
What about just closing your eyes and going for face? So like playing Farseer,
Oh man.
playing Edwin, going for Farseer, you heal yourself so that there is no Fireball top deck, and then you attack face with Sludge Belcher, you play Edwin, and then next turn you will be able to weapon up Oil with unfortunately no +3 attack on your minion, but you will be able to flurry.
Oh, it's another mech. Oh, it's a mech that gains damage.
It's
That's
a
so
good mag
bad.
actually.
Wow. What do you mean a good mech? Even if it was target dummy, that'd be so clutch. Because it would absorb the first damage from the Blade Flurry hit. Oh, we forgot about the secret too, Mirror Entity.
Oh yeah, true. Well,
is he just dead? No, I think he's barely
six,
alive right
7, and another Mirror Entity.
now. Right.
Yeah, this is such a tough spot for RDU.
If he
StrifeCro-
attacks face, he's on a Frostbolt to win too. But is he afraid of dying at all?
5-8 points of damage, so there's 22 with the number of cards. StrifeCro is definitely not afraid of dying, and I actually played this matchup versus StrifeCro once. I was playing Oil Rogue, and StrifeCro was playing Mech Mage. It was a very similar situation with health, and I was able to deal 28 damage to StrifeCro in one turn, and he survived and killed me. And then I was like, "Oh, StrifeCro, I dealt so much damage to you," and he was like, "I knew, I calculated. You could only deal 28, so I was live." I was like, okay. So.
You got outplayed. Get wrecked, Nipsh.
Oh, definitely. That's why he's playing and I'm casting here. But yeah, RDU really
Sap
gets
doesn't
now.
help much. I mean, it just delays it a little bit, but it doesn't help him develop too much either. I mean, this weapon gives him something, but there's still like that Farseer on the other end.
And there is the Antonidas just waiting to do a haha on RDU. That taunt will be clutch.
Absolutely. He gets that fireball, and basically RDU has to heal and clear this Antonidas.
Or just win.
Dr. Boom is not it, and I think that's it, right? Sprint won't be able to pick up any heal Nothing's available.
Yep.
Like not even Voodoo Doctor. He would have to get 2 Voodoo Doctors, Nimsh. That's the state of the board here.
Yeah, that board is really tough. So RDU is going to lose the first match of the pro part. And that was, what an interesting match. It was amazing, actually. Game 5, we had a very interesting battles. RDU winning with Druid versus Mech Mage, a very tough matchup. Then amazing Warlock versus Rogue. And even the Hunter, like RDU's Hunter build was also very, very cool to see with Worgen Infiltrator.
Yeah, he likes those 1 or 2 card tech rotations to try to catch his opponents. And unfortunately, it looks like RDU is down in the standings overall, but he's not going to be out. He'll be back in the coming weeks. And StrifeCro does take the first series win, but more importantly, he pads his Gosu Gamer ranking points. So he'll definitely stay number 1. RDU still descends lower down the Gosu Gamer ladder rankings. And of course, he's halfway